The twin moons of Aelthara hung low above the crystal towers of the royal palace, bathing the city in silver blue light. Every street below shimmered like flowing glass, and the air itself carried the soft hum of floating transports gliding through the night sky. Inside the grand hall of the celestial palace, hundreds of nobles stood in absolute silence. No music, no whispers, no movement, only tension. At the center of the hall stood Queen Seraphina of Aelthara, ruler of the most advanced empire in the Andromeda sectors. Her silver robes flowed behind her like liquid starlight, and the glowing crown upon her head pulsed softly with ancient energy. In front of her stood a human commander, Ethan Vale, a soldier from Earth, a nobody in the eyes of the galaxy. Yet every guard in the palace had their weapons aimed directly at him. Ethan tried not to move. His pulse thundered in his ears as dozens of glowing alien eyes stared at him with suspicion. He never wanted to be here. 3 days earlier, his ship had crashed near the outer border of Aelthara after pirates ambushed his cargo fleet. He was supposed to die in deep space like the rest of his crew. Instead, fate dragged him into the heart of an alien empire. And now he stood accused of something he didn't even understand. The human entered restricted royal territory. One of the royal advisors declared loudly. He was found near the sacred chambers of the princess. Murmurs spread through the hall. Another advisor stepped forward. Humans are known for violence and deception. He could be an assassin. Ethan clenched his jaw. I already told you. I got lost. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons. Queen Seraphina's glowing violet eyes remained fixed on Ethan. Cold, unreadable, dangerous. You expect this court to believe, the Queen said calmly, that a human soldier accidentally wandered into the most protected palace in our empire. Ethan opened his mouth, but stopped, because honestly, it sounded insane even to him. Before he could answer, the giant doors of the hall suddenly opened. Everyone turned. A tiny figure stepped inside. Princess Lyra. The young alien princess couldn't have been older than 6 by human standards. Her silver hair sparkled under the palace lights and small glowing markings danced across her cheeks like living constellations. She clutched a tiny crystal doll against her chest as she looked around nervously. The moment her eyes landed on Ethan, she froze. The entire hall waited. Then the little princess slowly pointed at him. Her tiny voice trembled. Mom. Queen Seraphina immediately softened. Lyra, you should not be here. But the princess kept staring at Ethan with wide emotional eyes. Then she whispered the words that changed everything. That's him. The entire palace fell into stunned silence. Every noble looked confused. The queen's expression hardened. What do you mean? Princess Lyra slowly walked toward Ethan. The guards immediately moved to block her, but she shook her head. No, he saved me. Now even Ethan looked confused. Saved her. The queen stood abruptly from her throne. When? Lyra looked down nervously. In the hidden garden. 3 nights ago. Suddenly Ethan remembered. After escaping the wreckage of his ship, he had wandered through strange glowing forests outside the palace walls. Exhausted and wounded, he'd stumbled upon a hidden garden, where he found a frightened little girl trapped beneath fallen crystal debris during a violent energy storm. He hadn't known she was a princess. To him, she was just a terrified child. I carried her out before the crystal roots collapsed, Ethan said quietly. The hall erupted into whispers. Queen Seraphina stared at her daughter in disbelief. Lyra, why didn't you tell anyone? The little princess lowered her head. Because everyone says humans are monsters. Those words struck the hall harder than an explosion. Even the queen looked shaken. Lyra walked directly up to Ethan and grabbed his hand without fear. He stayed with me until the storm ended, she said softly. He was injured too, but he still protected me. Ethan suddenly remembered the moment clearly. The child had been crying in the storm, while massive crystal branches crashed around them. He'd shielded her with his own body, until rescue drones finally arrived. He never imagined she was royalty. Queen Seraphina descended slowly from her throne. The atmosphere became suffocating. Every guard watched nervously as the queen approached the human soldier standing beside her daughter. "You risked your life," Seraphina said quietly. "For someone you did not know." Ethan shrugged slightly. "On Earth, we protect children, doesn't matter who they are." The queen studied his face carefully. No fear, no greed, no deception, only honesty, and somehow, that unsettled her more than anything. For decades, the Galactic Council had warned Aelthara about humans: primitive, violent, dangerous. But the man standing before her looked nothing like the monsters she'd imagined. Before Seraphina could speak again, alarms suddenly blared across the palace. Red lights flooded the hall. The guards instantly turned toward the ceiling displays. One officer shouted in panic, "Shadow Fleet detected!" The room exploded into chaos. Ethan looked up at the holographic map, appearing above the throne. Dozens of black warships emerged from hyperspace around the planet. The queen's face darkened immediately. The Dravari. The brutal alien empire had hunted Aelthara for years, seeking the ancient energy source hidden beneath the royal palace. And now they were here. A commander rushed forward. "Your Majesty, our defense grid is failing. Someone disabled the outer shields." Another advisor shouted, "There's a spy inside the palace." Fear spread instantly, but Ethan noticed something strange. One royal advisor near the throne slowly backing away, too nervous, too careful. Ethan's military instincts triggered immediately. "That one!" Ethan shouted suddenly. "He's the traitor!" The advisor panicked and pulled out a hidden plasma weapon. Before anyone could react, Ethan lunged forward. The blast fired across the hall. Nobles screamed. Ethan tackled the advisor to the ground as guards swarmed them. Seconds later, a stolen control device rolled across the floor. The Queen's soldiers scanned it instantly. It contains shield override codes. The hall erupted in shock. The advisor had betrayed the Empire. Queen Seraphina looked back at Ethan, with stunned realization. Not only had he saved her daughter, he had just saved the entire palace. Outside, explosions shook the city as enemy ships attacked the planetary defenses. The Queen turned toward her commanders. "Prepare the royal fleet." Then she looked directly at Ethan. "You were a soldier on Earth?" Ethan nodded once. Seraphina's eyes sharpened. "Then fight beside us." Hours later, Ethan stood aboard an Aeltharan warship soaring through burning skies above the planet. Massive alien cruisers clashed among the stars, while blue plasma fire lit the darkness of space. Ethan worked beside alien pilots and soldiers who hours earlier wanted him executed. Now they trusted him with their lives. During the battle, Ethan noticed the enemy flagship, charging a planet-killer cannon aimed directly at the capital city. "If that fires," one officer whispered, "millions will die." Ethan studied the tactical map rapidly. Then he saw a narrow opening in the enemy formation, a suicide path. "I can stop it," he said. The alien officers stared at him. "You won't survive," one warned. Ethan smiled faintly. "Wouldn't be the first bad idea I've had." Before anyone could stop him, Ethan commandeered a small fighter ship and launched directly into enemy fire. Explosions surrounded him. Warning alarms screamed inside the cockpit. But he kept flying, closer, closer. Finally, Ethan overloaded his ship's reactor and aimed directly at the flagship's cannon core. "For Earth," he whispered. The fighter disappeared into blinding white light. A second later, the enemy flagship exploded across the stars. The shockwave shattered the entire Dravari formation. The battle was over. Aelthara was saved. Back inside the palace, Queen Seraphina stood silently before the massive window overlooking the recovering city. Beside her stood Princess Lyra. The child looked up sadly. "Is Ethan gone?" Before the Queen could answer, the chamber doors opened. A wounded soldier limped inside, burned, exhausted. "Alive, Ethan Vale." Princess Lyra gasped happily and ran toward him. The Queen herself looked genuinely stunned. "You survived." Ethan gave a tired smile. "Barely. For the first time in years." Queen Seraphina smiled too, not as a ruler, not as a queen, but simply as a mother grateful to the man who saved her child. Weeks later, statues of Ethan Vale stood across Aelthara. The human once feared by the Empire became its greatest hero, and throughout the galaxy, one story spread faster than light itself. The story of the tiny alien princess who pointed at a human soldier and whispered, "Mom, that's him."